Joining me now to discuss this more is Alison Evans. She's Deputy Head of the Asia-Pacific Desk at IHS Country Risk. That's a global information and analysis company. Alison, thanks very much for coming in. Let's talk to start off with about the international response to this test. Ban Ki-moon has already condemned this in the strongest possible terms, but as I understand it, he did that for the 4 previous ones as well. So does his voice carry any weight anymore, or is Pyongyang just laughing at the rest of the world?
I think Ban Ki-moon's voice definitely does carry weight in the rest of the world, and to gather the international community together to condemn this action. But I think from North Korea's perspective, it makes sense to keep carrying out these tests because, as your correspondent says, it shows a clear progress in North Korea's technical development, and we've seen that with the nuclear test yesterday and in January, but also with missiles tests, the most recent of which was on Monday.
In terms of North Korea's nuclear capability then, can it now, as far as we now know, put a nuclear warhead on a missile, and who is it pointing those missiles towards? Is it Japan or is it the South?
So North Korea does have nuclear weapons, and it can put them on shorter-range missiles, but what it's working towards is being able to put those nuclear warheads on intercontinental ballistic missiles to target the United States, and it hasn't yet shown that capability. Some weapons experts are saying it might just be 2 years away from that, but what we saw in February this year was what North Korea called a satellite launch. Essentially, the technology is the same, and we didn't see a successful re-entry of that satellite. That's what North Korea is looking for, to be able to deliver the nuclear warhead on an intercontinental ballistic missile.
Where do we go now with this, though? Because it seems that each time there's another test, there are more sanctions imposed, and then there are more tests anyway. They don't seem to carry any weight in terms of stop Pyongyang or stop Kim Jong-un from wanting to carry out these sorts of tests. So what happens next, and how important is China in terms of bringing about some sort of peaceful resolution?
That's a really good question, Hannah. I think China is essential, and unfortunately what we've seen since the test in January is that China's sort of been pulled in 2 directions. So it agreed to UN Resolution 2270 in March, which had a much broader range and quite different sanctions to those before on North Korea. But after that, South Korea and the US also agreed to deploy THAAD, the anti-missile defense system there, which China didn't want. And so that's, of course, a reason for China not to enforce those new sanctions as strongly.
And this is this THAAD defense system. This is a cooperation between the US and South Korea, is that right?
Yes, and China's argument is that although nominally that defense system is aimed at North Korea, it would also allow the US to scan China and defend against any missiles that might come from China.
I think so many of us in the world are fascinated by this closed communist state in North Korea. When we see the pictures that are released from Pyongyang of Kim Jong-un looking very proud and jubilant at these sort of things, we wonder how much of a grip he has still on the country. We've heard over the last couple of months there have been several defections from the north to the south. Do tests like this rather reinforce his grip on the state, or is he starting to lose some power?
Yes, I think these tests definitely do show the people of North Korea, especially on a day like yesterday, the National Foundation Day, that the military is strong and that the country is developing its capabilities, both nuclear weapons capabilities and missiles capabilities. And also over the past 5 years since Kim Jong-un came to power, we've seen different purges and changes in the top leadership that show that it's probably is the case that Kim Jong-un is consolidating power and also bringing the party stronger relative to the military in decision-making in North Korea.
There were some reports as well that at the time of this nuclear test yesterday, on Friday, there was an earthquake that happened in North Korea as well. It does seem like that, irrespective of the loss of life or the impact that these tests might have on North Koreans as a population, they will do whatever it takes to keep their dear leader content.
Yes, I think so. The earthquake was one of the indicators that the nuclear device explosion had happened. There's also been reports of flooding in North Korea that have killed perhaps hundreds of thousands of people. I think the important thing is that because North Koreans mainly, if not exclusively, get their information from North Korean media and government messages, that it's quite important for them to know that their country is strong and safe, because that's what's keeping their system alive.
It is fascinating, and we'll no doubt be talking about it more in the months to come as well. Alison Evans, thank you very much for coming in on a Saturday morning to talk to us about this. Thank you.